All right, the purpose of this video is to talk about the placement of free modifiers. All right, so this is just going to be a little mini lesson before we try it. All right, there are 3 places that a free modifier can be found. An initial modifier is the first one, and that comes before the base clause. So any modifier that comes before the base clause is called an initial modifier. So if I had an example like this, let me write a quick sentence about an apple. Okay? Red and juicy, the apple looked delicious. Okay, so our base clause, let's circle the punctuation, our base clause is the apple looked delicious. Our subject would be apple, our verb would be delicious. So we have a free modifier here, red and juicy. And this time it's called an initial modifier because it is before the base clause. Oops. Okay, so any free modifier that comes before the base clause is an initial modifier, and there might be more than one initial modifier. Okay? Right, the second kind is that tricky kind, that medial modifier. Comes between the subject and the verb. It's the ninja. Okay, it comes along and it kind of karate chops that base clause apart. It separates the base clause into 2 pieces. All right, so let's use the same sort of little simple sentence about the apple. So now we're going to move that modifier. Remember, they're free, they can move. I'm going to start my sentence with the apple because that's our subject, and now I'm going to interrupt that base clause, slice it apart, and I'm going to add red and juicy, and then another comma, because free modifiers are set apart by punctuation, looked delicious. All right, so we have the same base clause, the apple looked delicious. Our subject is apple, our verb is looked, and we have red and juicy right in the middle of that base clause. So this time it is a medial modifier. And again, you might have more than one medial modifier in a sentence. Okay, anything that comes between the subject and verb, medial modifier. All right, I bet you can predict what the last one is. Okay, a final modifier is a free modifier that comes after the base clause. So I'm going to use that same little sentence about the apple. So we're going to start with the apple looked delicious, comma, red and juicy. Okay, so we have the same base clause. We got the apple as our subject. What about the apple? It looked. Same base clause. And this time, I've moved that free modifier to after the base clause. And now it is a final modifier. And again, there could be more than one final modifier in one sentence. All right, So that's a basic overview. In today's classwork, I'm going to give you detailed notes, and then we're going to practice. So go to your classwork for placement of free modifiers. Let me know if you need help.